Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class. It's from Canto 2, which is entitled The Cosmic Manifestation. Chapter 10, which is entitled Bhagavatam is the answer to all questions. And this morning we're doing text 31. We're very fortunate to have Her Grace Anandarupa Mataji from ISKCON DC to give a class. Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. You just need to unmute yourself and then you can go. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, please accept my most humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, Guru and Gauranga.
Jai.
Jai.
Please proceed.
Yes. So we'll start with Jai Radha Madhav prayers. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Brajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanchari. Jamuna Tira Vanchari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunj Bihari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्रीमद हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस एसी भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्रीमद हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस एसी हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। नामाचार्य श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैता गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्रीला हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपी गोप श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। वृंदावन धाम की जय। मायापुर धाम की जय। जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। गंगा माई की जय। यमुना माई की जय। भक्ति माई तुलसी देवी की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव विंद की जय। All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiriyet. Shravtam Katha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridayantasto He Bhadrani Vidhunoti Surhatsatam Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagvat Sevaya Bhagavate Ruttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtiki. Hare Krishna. Today we are reading from Canto 2, Chapter 10, verse 31. tvak-carma-māṁsa-rudhira medo-majjāsthi-dhātavaḥ bhūmy-ap-tejomayāḥ sapta prāṇo vyomāmbu-vāyubhiḥ tvak-carma-māṁsa-rudhira medo-majjāsthi-dhātavaḥ bhūmy-ap-tejomayāḥ sapta prāṇo vyomāmbu-vāyubhiḥ. One more time. tvak-carma-māṁsa-rudhira medo-majjāsthi-dhātavaḥ bhūmy-ap-tejomayāḥ sapta prāṇo vyomāmbu-vāyubhiḥ. Anyone else would like to recite?
tvak-carma-māṁsa-rudhira medo-majjāsthi-dhātavaḥ bhūmy-ap-tejomayāḥ sapta prāṇo vyomāmbu-vāyubhiḥ. Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol. Niru Mataji. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Mataji, please.
Hare Krishna. tvak-carma-māṁsa-rudhira medo-majjāsthi-dhātavaḥ bhūmy-ap-tejomayāḥ sapta prāṇo vyomāmbu-vāyubhiḥ. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
tvak-carma-māṁsa-rudhira medo-majjāsthi-dhātavaḥ bhūmy-ap-tejomayāḥ sapta prāṇo vyomāmbu-vāyubhiḥ. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. We'll read the translation now. We'll read the synonyms first. Tvak, the thin layer on the skin. Charma, skin. Māṁsa, flesh. Rudhira, blood. Meda, fat. Majja, marrow. Asthi, bone. Dhātavata, elements. Bhūmi, earth. Up, water. Teja, fire. Maya, predominating. Sapta, 7. Prāṇa, breathing air. Vyoma, sky. Ambu, water. Vāyubhiḥ, by the air. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The 7 elements of the body, namely the thin air on the skin itself, the flesh, blood, fat, marrow, and bone, are all made of earth, water, and fire, whereas the life breath is produced by the sky, water, and air. Purport. The construction of the whole material world is prominently made by three elements, namely earth, water, and fire. But the living force is produced by sky, air, and water. So water is the common element in both the gross and subtle forms of the material creation. And it should be noted herewith that due to necessity, water being the most prominent in material creation is the principal element of all the five. This material body is thus an embodiment of the five elements, and the gross manifestation is perceived because of three, namely earth, water, and fire. Sensations of touch are perceived due to thin layer on the skin, and bone is as good as hard stone. The breathing air of life is produced of sky, air, and water, and therefore open air, regular bath, and ample space in which to live are favorable for healthy vitality. Fresh produce from the earth, like grains and vegetables, as well as fresh water and heat, is good for the upkeep of the gross body. Hare Krishna. So let us continue offering prayers and express our gratitude and seek blessings from the spiritual masters. Namo Vishnupat Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishta Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaurvani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya vacha patitanam pavnebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Guru Vrinda ki jai. Thank you everyone for joining today. This verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 10, verse 31 is talking about so many elements, so many parts of our body. So we'll have a better understanding how to learn to appreciate the gifts we have received, how to be humble and grateful. And in this way, when we practice, we perform our spiritual practices, how we can do it in proper consciousness and achieve the goal of life. Now, this chapter the title says, Srimad Bhagavatam is the solution to all problems. We'll be coming to that, how to relate to that. First, let me begin with one question. If your bones are earth, if your blood is water, if your, it's mentioned your warmth is fire, your breath is air, and, so on, then who are you? And if these elements separate, what remains? And Bhagavatam says this body is temporary arrangement of nature. But one who observes the body is different. We know from the knowledge given in, let us talk about Bhagavad Gita. We are not the body, we are the souls. So it's very important we understand what is mentioned here in proper perspective. We will explore not only what the body is made of, but who we are beyond it. So, before this verse 31 in this chapter, for those of you who have, remembrance of what we have been reading in this chapter, something really extraordinary is described. Actually, Srimad Bhagavatam is extraordinary. So this chapter explains the Virat Purusha, the universal form. It's mentioned that sun is his eyes, the directions are his ears, the rivers are his veins, the mountains are his bones. Then it describes how each sense organ has a presiding deity, controlling deity. Remember, we read in past several verses. And there is learning provided that eyes are governed by sun, ears are by the direction, speech by the fire, and breath by the air. So what is the message? How do we relate it, And so we understand senses are not independent. They are powered by something, someone. And creation is not mechanical. It is conscious and divinely coordinated. Now this verse 31 zooms in from cosmic body to individual body. The same elements that form the universe, they form us too. The same divine arrangement that powers the creation powers our senses. So when we misuse the senses, we need to reflect on, are we disturbing the harmony? And when we purify the senses, how do we realign with the creation? So when we read the scriptures, when we hear from Vaishnavacharyas, this process is beautifully described. In Canto 1, in the beginning itself, when I recited the Srimad Bhagavatam prayers, Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya, by regular hearing and service to Bhagavatam, impurities in the heart are almost destroyed. So please notice two words, Nityam, regularly, and Bhagavatam Sevaya, serving the Bhagavatam and the devotees. So this purification, while we are talking about it, this is a gradual process. It's not instant. And by repeatedly hearing truths like this verse, that we are not the body, what happens? The illusion weakens. And then comes Bhagavatir Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Steady devotion awakens. This is purification. So, as the Bhagavad Gita says, we hear so frequently about this phrase. It's part of the verse from chapter 2. Param drishtva nivartate. One gives up lower taste upon experiencing a higher taste. So we detach from bodily obsession, not by force, but by higher realization, higher taste. And that higher realization is called Shreyas. It's for ultimate good of all. And most of the world chases what? Prayers. Immediate pleasure. But Srimad Bhagavatam guides us towards Shreyas, lasting, which is the lasting, for the lasting spiritual benefit. Now, I would like to bring you back to what Bhagavad Gita says, because we are talking about body. Body has senses, body has organs, and these elements which constitute the body. And then Gita says, Bhagavad Gita says, Prakriti kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasha. So material nature acts on this body. The senses function because the controlling deities empower them. We have been reading that in the past verses. I'm trying to relate to the knowledge we have received in this chapter so that there is correlation and it's helpful for everyone, and including those who are joining today, after a while or first time. So these elements we read, they combine, and we think, what is the thinking in material consciousness? I am the controller. So this knowledge we receive in Srimad Bhagavatam, this is real knowledge. It humbles us. When we understand this whole creation, how bodies are made of, how to have this appreciation for what we have received, we are on the path to develop this Krishna consciousness. because in the creation, primary creation, which is provided by Supreme Lord, and then there are 10 subject matters. When we developed understanding of these subject matters, we become Narayan Parayan. So one whose orientation is towards the Supreme, that's what it means. Not towards ego, not towards matter. So the 10 subject matters, they ultimately lead to ashraya. We have been talking about that. So Bhagavatam says, Dasamasya Vishuddhi Artham. In one of the previous verses, verse number 6 specifically. So the 9 topics exist to purify us, so we understand the 10th. And what is this 10th subject matter? It is ashraya, ultimate shelter. In Bhagavad Gita, we read, Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate. It is the first verse in Chatushloki Gita in chapter 10. Krishna is saying to Arjun, I am the source of everything. And that has been explained, that nicely explained by Srila Prabhupada and our Vaishnavacharyas, that mood and consciousness is Vasudev consciousness, one who understands Krishna is the source of everything. And when consciousness becomes centered on Vasudev, Krishna, what happens? More clarity comes, more intelligence develops. And one understands how to be peaceful. One becomes fearless. So, what does this really mean in our day-to-day life when we are reading this verse? This verse which says there are 7 elements of the body, namely the thin layer on the skin itself, flesh, blood, fat, marrow, bone are all made of earth, water, and fire, whereas the life breath is produced by sky, water, and air. And Prabhupada says in the purport that, overall, if you, like we read through the purport, that these are the gifts we have received, yet at the same time, in this chapter, the verses are explaining how each sense organ functions and which controlling deity or devata empowers it. For example, as I mentioned earlier, eyes are governed by sun, speech by fire, hands by Indra, legs by Vishnu, and so on. So this verse summarizes the physical body itself, saying that layers like skin, flesh, blood, fat, marrow, bone are simply combinations of earth, water, and fire, whereas the life breath depends on space and air. And so we learn how function and divine administration works. And actually, this verse explains the composition. And together, this whole knowledge teaches us humility, that body is elemental, the senses are empowered, but the soul is distinct and ultimately part of the Supreme. And so we can understand that we are not the machinery, not even the operators of machinery, but we are the conscious witness meant to harmonize with the Supreme Source. So, we learn to respect our senses, knowing that they are divinely empowered. We can think of using them in harmony and not exploitation. Sense gratification is the term commonly used, in all over, when we read Srimad Bhagavatam. And like I mentioned, we learn to make proper choice. Making proper choices in Krishna consciousness are top 2 principles in the 6 principles of surrender. So we choose Shreyas over Preyas. And the message is to learn to live simply. Simple living, higher thinking. So how do you live simply? We learn to appreciate the fresh air, clean water, honest food. And in this way, we can have a gradual shift from bodily consciousness to Vasudev consciousness. So let me take you for a few minutes to the Vraj pastimes. In Srimad Bhagavatam, or in Krishna book, we'll read from the nectarian pastimes of Supreme Lord that in his childhood pastimes, Krishna eats mud and the dirt, and Mother Yashoda looks into his mouth and sees, what does she see? She sees all the elements. And so we understand he is not sustained by elements. Elements are sustained by him. Let's talk about Govardhan Leela. So there is this massive storm, raging storm, wind, water, thunderstorm is there, and he lifts Govardhan effortlessly. So controlling deities are acting, but he is the source of them. So that sweetness helps us understand all these 10 topics. They culminate in the sweetness of the Lord, in his ashray. So now, as we talk about this subject right now, let us all feel our breath and understand the air element. Let us see how fire is present in the warmth of our bodies. Let us think of earthly element. It is described to feel in our weight. And in this way, we can become more aware. And this awareness is not elemental, actually. It is the conscious self, which is linked to its source. While I was preparing for this talk, I was also thinking, I will mention nowadays there are so many shorts on social media. Life coaches are there, hypnotherapists, relationship advisors, astrologers. They're talking about soul contracts, overcoming problems through temporary solutions, through rituals, quick fixes, mindset shifts. So these approaches can help at a bodily or mental level, temporarily relieving immediate stress or tension, but they do not address the root cause, which is the ignorance which is there in the living entity. The living entity who has the body, there is a soul in the body, and it has a higher purpose. So Srimad Bhagavatam teaches we are made of 7 elements, controlled by these presiding deities, controlling deities, operating through this body, through the senses. And so most people remain unaware and they become entangled. Canto 5 talks about, this phrase is there, dense forest of material enjoyment. So living entities remain entangled in ignorance in this dense forest of material enjoyment. Doing what? They are chasing prayers, mistaking bodily comfort for real fulfillment. So what are these temporary fixes like? They're like trimming the branches of a huge tree without removing the roots. So what happens then? In this time, like today also, we had winter storm, there is snow out there. There is so much vegetation out there, which looks very dry. And once we are past this winter season, the green leaves will be there again. And new foliage will appear, so we know all that. So temporary fixes, I was saying, are like trimming the branches of a huge tree without removing the roots. Real freedom comes from higher vision, which is the permanent solution. And what is there in this permanent solution? There is an understanding, there is an awareness that soul is distinct from this body. And we have to learn to observe senses and mind under guidance of controlling deities. And in this way, one can harmonize body, mind, and intelligence with nature, with the divine will, as per the divine will. And in this way, one can align with the ultimate goal or the supreme goal or the ultimate destination, which is the service to the Supreme Lord. And this is what? This is the higher vision which I mentioned earlier. Param drishtva nivartate. So when we act with this higher vision, what happens is we get out of the, Prabhupada would say the term clutches of Maya. So what happens is when we act with this higher vision, daily struggles, relationship issues, life challenges, they no longer trap us. We move from temporary relief to the eternal solution, from reactive survival to conscious harmony. What kind of conscious harmony? The Vasudeva consciousness I mentioned earlier, Krishna consciousness. And this is about making choice from prayers, preferring shreyas to prayers. So in other words, knowing the soul's journey and working towards spiritual destination is the ultimate life plan, and it is far superior to any temporary remedy. So as I wrap up this talk, let us reflect on this. Every day we use this body. Sometimes we use our limbs for, whatever we are doing, walking, cooking, driving, cleaning, serving. Sometimes we even sit for long hours, right? For our work, for whatever we are doing. And we are using mind, intelligence, memory. We are reading, studying, working on laptops, even reading from scriptures. So how does, again, coming back to the subject, I want to repeat this again. So, kind of it doesn't, there is no disconnect. How does this topic fit in this chapter? How does this knowledge of elements help us? First and foremost thing is, it helps us developing humility. When I move my hands, let us think how the earth element is moving. When I speak, how fire and air are involved. When I think, how subtle elements are functioning. So senses are not independent. The previous verse explained, several verses, they explained that every sense has a controlling deity. So my eyes work because the sun empowers them. My speech functions because fire empowers it. My breath flows because air is sustained. So when I perform daily duties, I can remember. What can I remember? I can pray to be in remembrance that I am not the ultimate controller. I am being empowered. This naturally helps in reducing the ego. And in this way, we can understand how nature is acting. So instead of thinking I am the doer, I begin to think I am the participant. And we constantly receive this guidance, from the time we start practicing Krishna consciousness in this life, that the mood should be servant of the Lord, right? So it's very important for us to develop this mindset that I am a participant, I am an instrument. And then one can actually practically apply servant of the Lord. And then it helps developing detachment. If I sit for long hours using my intelligence, reading scriptures, studying philosophy, even then I can remember that brain is the matter, mind is the subtle matter, and intelligence is also subtle matter. But the conscious self is beyond them, soul. So even spiritual study becomes purified. That's how it becomes an act of service. And I do not I am not reading to inflate my ego. I am reading to awaken Krishna consciousness. And then thirdly, this is how we understand how our work transforms to worship. When we cook, we can think these grains come from earth, water sustains them, fire cooks them. All the elements belong to Supreme. So my activity becomes an offering. So this is the shift. from prayers to Shreyas. By the way, those of you who don't remember or have not heard these two words I have been mentioning, Shreyas and prayers. Shreyas means those activities which are good for, ultimate good for all, the spirituality, spiritual activities. Prayers is for immediate material relief, those activities like digging wells, hospitals. So this is the shift from prayers to Shreyas. From I work for myself to I work in harmony with the source. And who is the source I mentioned earlier? Anyone remembers? Quickly, anyone can mention who is the source? Hare Krishna. I just want to make sure everybody
Hare
is
Krishna,
hydrated.
the Supreme
Yes.
Personality of Godhead, Mataji.
Yes, very good. Thank you. And then this knowledge we are reading specifically about the elements and controlling deities of the body, and how this knowledge helps. I'm telling you, I told you 3 points. 4th point is it protects from burnout. When we overwork the body, the elements become imbalanced. Prabhupada stressed so much. It's in the one of the Rupa Goswami in Nectar of Instruction, Srila Prabhupada's commentary. Srila Prabhupada nicely explains one should avoid over-endeavor. We can get a clue from here to avoid any burnout. Why? When we overwork the body, the elements become imbalanced. When we overstimulate the mind, subtle elements become disturbed. And when we remember we are not the body, we treat it as an instrument in service of Lord, not as an identity. Right? So there are several identities we operate as. But this chapter is teaching us to use the body, do not become the body. Engage the senses, do not be enslaved by them. And let the elements serve a higher purpose. And this is what Krishna consciousness or Vasudeva consciousness is about. So, how do we relate it to our spiritual practices? We chant the holy names. We engage in deity worship. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, right? And Bhagavatam, and Bhagavad Gita says, Satatam kirtayanto mam. In chapter 9, it says, great souls, Mahatmas, they are constantly glorifying the Lord. Srila Prabhupada explains the holy name is not different from Krishna. And we are reading the body survives by air. The soul survives by transcendental sound. So chanting awakens higher taste. Param drishtva nivartate. It gradually removes impurities. Nasht prayeshu abhadreshu. Now you see the correlation, the connection. So this knowledge and spiritual practices, they shift our consciousness from prayers to Shreyas. It moves us from elemental identity to eternal identity. So in this way, we can understand that the soul is sustained in sound vibration by the holy name. All right, so this is how we connect and correlate. So I would like to conclude the talk here so that we can have some discussion if there are any questions or comments. Granth-raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Bhagavad Pad ki jai, Anant Koti Vaishnavin ki jai, Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for a very nice lecture. The connections for the elements, the way you made them, and it's very, very, very smooth. Dear devotees, this is the time to unmute yourself. If you have questions for clarification, if you have takeaways that you want to share with all of us, then please unmute yourself. Or any other question, any other statements that you want to make connected to this, or even not connected to this, but in spirituality or in general. You can bring it out and we have a nice discussion about it. Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments from anyone? Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments? Okay, there are two questions. The two devotees want questions. So Niru, please start first, and after that, Shane would ask a question.
Hare
also.
Krishna.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Mataji, if you can please explain Shreyas and prayers once again. Not very clear with these terms, Mataji. Request you to please tell once again.
Okay. Hare Krishna. So these shares and prayers, they are the activities which have been identified in Srimad Bhagavatam. I mentioned it earlier. So prayers are the activities one engages in for, in a subtle way, looking for name, fame, activities like digging wells, building hospitals, putting efforts, time and energy in these kind of activities. These are two examples. There are many more. Basically, material consciousness, not thinking, well, it's a pious mindset, mostly at times, to help the humanity, philanthropic activities, Whereas Shreyas is aimed at for ultimate good of all. Now, what is the ultimate good of all? Whereas prayers activities are aimed at providing relief at bodily level, to help the poor or less privileged, immediate relief at the bodily level. Whereas Shreyas is aimed for ultimate good. What is this ultimate good? Ultimate good is if the soul can get out of this cycle of birth, old age, death, and disease. So what activities will help? Spiritual activities will help, which puts the living entity in remembrance about that they are the eternal soul in service of the Lord, activities which provide living entity this knowledge that what is their constitutional position, the Sambandha Gyan, and then having this knowledge to engage in suitable activities so that they stay in this remembrance and work towards spiritual progress for the pleasure of the Lord. To achieve what? To achieve the ultimate goal. Ultimate goal is to get out of this cycle of birth, old age, death, disease, and stay stably positioned in service of the Lord. So these activities are Shreyas activities, the activities of devotional service. I hope this helps, Niru Mataji.
Yes, Mataji. Thank you so much, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I could go to Monica, but I thought I saw Shane raise his hand earlier. So, okay, go ahead, Shane. Then after that, then Monica. Hare Krishna.
Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. Lord Srila Prabhupada. Thank you for this wonderful class. I enjoyed the breakdown of how we're not the body based on how we are, the different elements. That was nice. I was wondering, you brought up the gradual improvement and not immediate, and how eventually through higher tastes, we give up the lower tastes. My question is, when you feel like you've had at least enough of the higher taste to be able to overcome lower nature activities, but you feel like you're still attached to certain things, what would your advice be to overcome those and not be too hard on yourself? And yeah, thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Shane Prabhu, so I want to just repeat so I ensure I got your question right. So when you feel you have started experiencing higher taste or have appreciation for that, yet you find there is a stage of some clearing stage actually, where you are still attached with some materialistic activities or contaminating activities, and you feel you have a long way to go maybe. So how do you actually work on that? Is that your question? Is that the question?
That's
Okay.
what I heard also. In case you can.
Yeah. So Srimad Bhagavatam says, and Vaishnavacharyas also guide us that with single pointed attention or incessantly, one should apply these spiritual practices which are aimed at ultimate good of all. Now, Rupa Goswami gave us 5 potent ways which are sure to bring a change of heart or complete transformation. Harinam Chintamani talks about, that stage where one is realizing they have a long way to go. Like it talks in terms of chanting, from Namaparaj stage, that's when you realize you have a lot of anarthas in your heart and you have a lot of work to do, yet you make an effort, you make an endeavor. And then with steadiness, when you do that, then clarification happens. Namabhas is the stage where clarification is happening, but that perfect stage you have not achieved yet. Until you come to the Shuddhanam, the pure state, when there is, complete purification has happened. So similarly, everything happens in stages. It's gradual process, and this is expected. Krishna says, Ye yatha mam prapadyante. I surrender according to I reciprocate depending on the degree of surrender. So the more surrender we cultivate, and it has to begin somewhere, and Gita also says with practice and detachment, this can be done. So we are receiving by Guru and Krishna's mercy, we get all the teachings, we get all the opportunities. And when we hold those beads, we chant, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. We chant 16 mala, 32 mala, 64 mala, whatever is that. We are begging for an opportunity to make progress by engaging in devotional service. And slowly that purification will happen. So the key is we should not give up at any time. We should only increase our effort. When we do the Shravan of the beautiful pastime of baby Krishna in the Kartik month, his mother was tying him with a rope. What is the message we are getting? We need to put in our endeavor and depend on Lord's mercy. We have to depend on Guru and Krishna's mercy. So we have to cultivate in the process of surrender. One of the key points is depending on Krishna for ultimate, goal we are trying to achieve. Putting all efforts for pleasure of the Lord. So that process has to go. Now, in this whole process, of course, our well-wishers, sadhu sangha, they play a major role. We can always approach them, and, there are such beautiful instructions. We try to copy, we try to follow, we don't copy. We don't do anukaran, we do anusaran. Now, these are some of the ways, some principles have been identified by the Vaishnavacharyas. Sri Rupa Goswami has given 6 principles which we must apply in order to make tremendous or steady spiritual progress. So I hope all this information is helpful for you. Actually, heart of heart, everybody knows what their shortcomings are. What are the areas they need to work on? Just that we have to cultivate some eagerness and determination, which we can offer prayers for that, and also we can observe in others. And that is what Sadhu Sangha is for. Hare Krishna. So I hope I was able to address some of your concerns, if not all. Please let me know. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Monica Mataji, please go on. Unmute yourself.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances.
Mataji, I wanted to know that when you say prayers means like for self. So if a person like a doctor is serving in the hospital, isn't that pleasing to Krishna? Isn't that connected to Shreya's activity?
So in the hospital, if someone is in, let us say, terminal condition, a cancer patient or who is about to die, or someone is in CCU, cardiology problem or something, last moments or something, and you pray for them. It depends how you are offering the prayers. Krishna is not the order supplier, but Krishna is pleased if we cultivate this mood of compassion for other living entities, pray for them, pray for their devotional life, pray for their consciousness, pray for their destination. Krishna is very pleased with that. On the other hand, if we are praying for someone, asking Krishna, please fix this person's state because we really need this person fully functional so that our whatever interests may go on. So really what I'm trying to say here is it really depends how is your prayer composed. Though prayers are very personal and not everyone can articulate the most beautiful prayers. They may not even have the words. And Krishna is in our heart as Paramatma. He knows our thoughts, desires, our prayerful heart. He knows that. Yet, when we offer prayer, is offering prayers, Vandanam is one of the ways, devotional service, one of the ways Navidha Bhakti is done. But that is in Krishna. We have to see whether it's offered in Krishna consciousness or is it in material consciousness, right? Bhagavad Gita talks about 4 kind of pious people who come to Krishna with a prayerful heart, but they have material consciousness. All right, Monica Mataji, you got your answer?
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you for this question.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Dear Krishna Prabhu, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you, Mataji, for explaining these little technical topics in such easy words. Thank you so much for that. Mataji, when you were answering the question to Shane Prabhu, and you mentioned about the Kripa portion and also our endeavor. So one thing that came to my mind, I might be making a lot of endeavors, but if it is not pleasing to devotees and Guru and Krishna, then, if I'm not caring for that, then it might not bring that Kripa, right?
So your question, you are actually making a comment, and do you want me to comment on that? Or?
Yes, Mataji, yes, to make clarify it a little more.
Okay. So
thank you.
So one should learn. One should learn from senior devotees under some devotees' guidance. What is the right approach? How one should initially do a lot of hearing and service to understand the protocols, because we have lived in so much ignorance in this life. I can't talk past lives. We don't have remembrance, but some of this life. So much ignorance. What is right? What is wrong? Can everybody hear me? Because I saw my internet connection was unstable. I just got a message.
Just for a short while. Just for a short while. But it's fine now.
So through sadhu, guru, and shastra, we should develop understanding, and accordingly, that is why we have shiksha gurus also. And in guidance of devotees, we should learn how to serve. Okay. So a lot of issues are taken care of there if we are unintentionally committing any offenses, what we are not aware of. But if we are intentionally doing that and we are aware of it, we need to understand what are our shortcomings, and ultimately it's not going to help So then this question of always there will be someone who is not happy. We can't control others. Supreme controller is Krishna. We can't control others. That is between them and Krishna. If somebody is getting unnecessarily offended when your intentions were fine, you had pure intentions. Still, if your acts or services offended someone, well, then that's between them and Krishna. We should not worry about it. What we should worry about it is how much effort we are putting, what is our consciousness, and the spiritual practices, how much sincerity we are putting it in, and we should depend on Guru and Krishna. And of course, there will be always devotees who are our well-wishers, and it may happen that logistics may not work well with few others. But for that, ultimately, we should not waste our precious life on that, worry about that. That is then work of mind, actually. Mind is rationalizing, or mind is doing its work. And so we have to engage our mind. And so, Dhir Krishna Prabhu.
Yes, Mataji, very, very nicely explained. I mean,
yeah, this is from, of
Thank you.
course, from experience, we all learn about it. And there is a nice, I have been watching one of these motivational speaker. Her name is Mel Robbins. She published a book called Let Them Theory. Let Them. So you will see that all these, our spiritual life, it's also aimed at bringing that change of heart. That transformation within us. And we have to, they say, let go and let God. And this let them theory is also like that. Let people think and do what they are doing. Don't try to fight with it. And where anyway you don't have any say. But with your best intention, you carry on with your service. And Krishna has a way of reciprocating, and that too mysteriously. So that's why we have so many beautiful examples. Prithu Maharaj, Dhruv Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, all beautiful pastimes. So they really actually help us have that hope against hope for those days. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much. Very comforting, very hopeful, and beautiful. Thank you. Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much. I have a question, Mataji.
Yes, Prabhu.
Just your take on it. This is something that I'm actually just currently going through. So there was a Mataji that came to Krishna consciousness not long ago. So she's new. And she came from a Christian background. I could tell from, converse. And I came from Christian background to Christian consciousness also. So she's excited, she's chanting, and that's wonderful. It's so nice to get people to chant. And early already, she's doing 16 rounds every day. So that's wonderful. And she would be sending me sometimes, every now and then, some YouTube chanting of Hare Krishna, which was great too. But then she sent me 2 days ago a passage or a video from YouTube. And it was someone who was had Christian background and also knew about Vaishnav, our way of life, and was trying to correlate the two. She actually quoted the Gospel of Thomas, which you don't need to know necessarily, but this Christian point he was adding and trying to find some correlation between that and Krishna consciousness. Everything he said about Krishna consciousness was actually true. I give him that credit. But the point where I had an issue with was he was trying to say that gospel and Krishna consciousness were actually the same. But from what I know about Krishna consciousness, as he was talking, I could see that there were places that I couldn't possibly agree with. And so now this is a Mataji that sent me that. So when I wrote back to her, I pointed out a few things to make her, to bring the point out that they can't really, really, really be the same. If you're talking about the same level, one leads to another. That I'll agree immediately. because it was from Christianity we came to Krishna consciousness. But he wasn't saying that. That person was saying that they were actually the same. They explained in two different ways, but they're all the same. And I got a response back from her. She's quite disappointed with me at this point for explaining it like that. She said, "Oh, maybe I shouldn't have sent the video to you at all." And I said, "Well, that's not really the point. But I'm going to be talking with her tomorrow." So hearing this, I kind of have an idea what to tell her, but I'm also kind of asking you any kind of input, to deal with a person who's a little bit disappointed that the video, she thought it was going to, I'll be happy with it because those two things are the same. And I said, no, it isn't. And so how to deal with her because she's emotionally down and for me saying that. Hare Krishna.
So Prabhupada talks about Christianity too. Few things I can recollect. He says, I mean, of course, you can actually articulate and explain this better being from Christian background. But I'm just making a little effort. If I was in this kind of situation, two things I know that the extent to which this Sanatan Dharma talks about spiritual world, the description and what is there to look forward to and ultimate solution, how to engage in activities of shares so that one can have a permanent solution. To this level, the description is, or the promise is not there actually in other faiths. Though everybody is worshipping God, and Prabhupada said that you need to follow your teachings, the instructions as it is, but other faiths may or may not be practicing that. But then that is where he felt that we cannot say that they are aimed at same, they're practiced in a similar way. So for one who has really an experience of different faiths to a great depth, probably is a good person to carefully, tactfully handle these kind of interactions at a high level. But for many of us who are not from Christian background or do not have much experience about it, we would not want to say anything which may put them off. We can just express appreciation and not really get too much entangled in that, saying that, hey, be honest about it. Your situation is different, Prabhu. You can probably go to some degree, you can enter into some kind of discussion. Now you have the background, what this Krishna conscious philosophy is promising and how the spiritual practices are. There are times when different faiths, they like to pay a visit to Hindu temples also for experience and understanding what it is about. And in general, they are trying to cultivate not an opinion, but a better exposure, to have better exposure, how different cultures or different faiths, they practice spirituality and what their life is like and all that. And that helps them. I mean, I have been to some of them. I have given walkthroughs to some of these groups. So what I have seen is whether it's Christian or coming from Jewish background or some other faiths, they are pretty much open. And sometimes they ask such questions to which ultimately comes to this kind of discussion. Like it becomes a little challenging to explain what Krishna consciousness is promising, and it all came to the description of spiritual world actually, which is not available with other faiths also. And not only that, they are doing many things which we don't do as part of our regulative principles, right? So there itself, and then you really can't go into that depth with them because someone may get really defensive about it. and debates may happen. And Prabhupada also said, do not argue or enter into debates with those who will not understand it anyway. So,
Yeah.
Yes, Prabhuji, what do you feel as it is?
Well, I just wanted to get your take on it. Obviously, I mean, I wasn't expecting too much description on it because obviously the Mataji and myself, we have a relationship that is at a particular level now. Yeah, and that I haven't even described to you at all what it is. But still, I was just, because I'm going to talk to her, I wanted to find out, and I probably will ask by other people also the same question, just to get a little more, input from devotees who have been around for a while in this situation, how they would act. I don't think that my relationship with her is going to break. It's not going to go down because I know her background. But I was kind of chuckling about it because it's just hard for me to accept that very hard for me to accept that the religions explain things at a Krishna conscious level, because Krishna conscious level is so much higher. It is so much higher. And doing that guy in that video when he was explaining, every time he talked about what he knew from Vaishnavism, it was so plain and so direct. When in fact, when he talked about that gospel, that part of the gospel that he was describing, it became so esoteric. It was just clear, and that I will have to kind of explain to her that there's different. There's a reason why it's that way. Because if it's the same, if it's exactly the same, why would I leave one and go to the other if it's the same? I'm not getting anything new. What's the point in leaving then Christianity? Mm-hmm. So I know these are some of the things I'll break down to her for her to get a sense of the differences. And something I'll point out, because the guy didn't say anything about the spiritual world, because of course Christianity doesn't know the spiritual world. They don't go that far. They go to the heavenly planets and that's it. So anyway, I asked just to get your input, but we'll see what will happen. I've prayed to my guru and then we'll go on. I'm not worried. I just get used. To me, that's my experience. I don't think anything comes from me directly. It comes from the spiritual master's mercy. Hare Krishna. Any final questions or comments? Oh, and thank you for the lecture. This was a wonderful lecture, actually. Yeah, but the words have already told you. If there are no questions, no comments, then again, thank you. This is the beginning of a week. Those of us that are a little snowed in here, we can care with the material energy. There was some snow that we have to deal with. But again, keep your enthusiasm up. Everything is, for ultimately us going back to the spiritual world when it all is said and done. Vancha kalpatarubhasya kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.